Hi guys, and welcome to a new segment I'm going to call Game of Thrones Epic Character History, where I go into the background information of certain characters you may or may not have seen, and for good reason. Now, today we're going to focus on an interesting character who will probably not make an appearance in the show, and I highly doubt they will ever be mentioned. In the show, by the way, so if you're worried about spoilers, then don't worry, you're okay. The character we're going to be focusing on is one mentioned in the books, and gives a big insight into Cersei Lannister and why she's so grumpy and kind of a bitch towards everybody's favorite, Tyrion Lannister. So that being said, if you've seen Comic Book Girl 19's video on the Lannister epic history, then you'll probably know who I'm talking about. If you don't, then I'll tell you. We're going to be focusing on the fortune teller known as Maggy the Frog, who gave young Cersei Lannister her future before the events of Robert's Rebellion, and even before Rhaegar named Lyanna the Queen of Love and Beauty, which led to the eventual shitstorm. Maggy the Frog was rumored to have magical powers, which could allow her to make accurate readings of a person's future. These rumors led Cersei to sod her out, and during the tournament to celebrate King Aerys' first visit to the West, Cersei and two of her friends went to Maggy to have their fortunes told. By the way, King Aerys at the time was just known as King Aerys. He's the father of Daenerys and Viserys, and at this time he has not been known as the Mad King. At this point, he's pretty sane, kind of. So, at first, Maggy refuses to tell their fortune, but eventually agrees after Cersei threatens her. Because, you know, being incredibly rich and powerful tends to persuade people a bit better. This entire event will turn out to shape Cersei's entire future and her adult life. It'll give you an insight into why she's such a bitch at times, to even her own little brother, to which Jaime is completely cool with. So what would happen is Cersei would ask Maggy questions and she would answer them, and I'll tell you what they are, but you need to pay attention very closely, because apparently everybody comes to their own different conclusions on what these interpretations of her predictions really are. Maggy's kind of like one of those psychics you see in movies and TV where she'll make a prediction that is clear, but not clear at the same time. Like, let's say if you ask her your future, she'll say that the cat will kill you. This is just, let's just go with it. Let's just imagine for a second. You go to Maggy and she says that you will die by the cat. So at this point you're like, okay, a cat is gonna kill me? Okay, cool, I'll just avoid all cats, which can be doable. But at the end of the day, you'll die by this guy named William Cat. Get it? Like, she predicted that you'll die by the cat, meaning not the feline or the animal, but some guy named William Cat. So technically, if she tells you your future, she's kind of right, but they're not very clear. But she didn't exactly lie to you. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of a trickery kind of thing. So try to pay attention very carefully to her predictions when it comes to Cersei's future. Cersei's first question is, when will I marry the prince? At this point, she believes that she will eventually marry Rhaegar Targaryen. To which Maggy says, never, you will marry the king. See what she did there? At this point, Cersei believes she'll end up marrying Aerys Targaryen, who later becomes known as the Mad King. But in reality, she ends up marrying Robert Baratheon, who later becomes king, then she marries him. Remember, she doesn't marry Robert before he's king, only after he walks into King's Landing after Aerys is dead and sits on the Iron Throne. By the way, if I'm saying any names wrong, I sincerely apologize. Cersei's next question is, will I be the queen though? This is Cersei's vanity not giving the fuck whether or not she marries an old man. To which Maggy answers her honestly, yes, queen you shall be until there comes another, younger and more beautiful to cast you down and take all that you hold dear. Maggy tells her the truth. Cersei does become queen under Robert Baratheon, and even when her son takes the helm. But who is the younger, more beautiful queen? At this point, if you're watching this video and reading this, you're probably thinking it's Daenerys Targaryen, of course. But actually, other people will dispute that, since Margaery will marry Joffrey, and if anything happens to him, his younger brother Tommen, I believe. So technically, Margaery could also be the younger and more beautiful queen. Now, whether or not you think that Margaery or Daenerys is hotter or not really the case. It's really Maggy's prediction. And take it as you will. Hell, I even know that some people believe that Joffrey is more beautiful than Sansa, but that's another story for another time. And a lot of people have speculated that Sansa and even Cersei's own daughter, Myrcella, could be the queen that comes and, takes all that Cersei's hold dear. If you've read the books, you can make a safe assumption of Cersei's own daughter, Myrcella, or Sansa being that queen. I won't spoil many things for you, but let's just say that they are also prime candidates to be the one that casts Cersei down. You understand what I'm saying? And I know what you're thinking, Cersei's own daughter, really. But this is Game of Thrones, and after the Red Wedding, would you really be surprised if anything like that happened? Yeah, got you there, didn't I? Her last question is, will the king and I have children? To where Maggy replies, oh yes, 16 for him and 3 for you. She accurately predicts the number of children Robert will have, and how many Cersei will have. See how eerie that is? She guessed it right, like, down to the letter. And it doesn't end there. She continues to give her one last prediction, and this prediction will completely shape the way Cersei feels about Tyrion Lannister. So Maggy goes on to talk about Cersei's children. Gold shall be their crowns, gold their shrouds, she said, and when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands round your pale white throat and choke the life from you. By the way, Valonqar is High Valyrian for little brother. So Maggy predicts that Cersei's children will not survive her, and the interesting part is the crown and shrouds, which strongly implies that they will die as king and queens. So, now do you understand why Cersei is kind of like holding on to her children? How she kind of wants them to be in a position to where they can't die? Because I know attempts are made on king and queens all the time, but the king of an entire continent with the king's guards surrounding you, Cersei is comfortable having her children as, king and queens, with the greatest sword fighter in Westeros, Jaime, protecting them as king's guard. I mean, they're pretty much safe for the main time being. And if you're confused about the rest of Joffrey's brothers and sisters, Tommen and Marcella, if you read the book, you'd understand how this is very possible. However, I don't want to spoil things for you. That Cersei is just she's just freaking out because all of this woman's predictions are coming true. She did end up marrying the king. He did have a lot of bastard children, 16 of them, and she ended up having 3 of her own with her brother Jaime, which he obviously left out. And so you understand what I'm saying when I said earlier that Maggy's predictions were kind of not clear, but clear at the same time? Because Maggy told her that she'd have kids, but not with the king. She left that part out. So you have to listen very carefully and make your own interpretation of it. If you can understand what I'm trying to say there. But, yeah. Also, before I leave you on this one, remember, she said that the Valonqar, which is High Valyrian for little brother, will strangle the life from her. Well, I just want to leave you with this. At this point, if you're Cersei, you're probably thinking that's Tyrion Lannister, her little brother. But did you also know that Cersei and Jaime are twins, and that Cersei was actually born first, making Jaime her little brother? So let me mindfuck you for a second here. Notice how it says the Valonqar shall wrap his hands, meaning it's a guy, and notice how Maggy says the Valonqar, not your Valonqar, meaning that the little brother, which could be almost anybody who has a big brother, will wrap his hands around your pale white throat and choke the life from you. Remember, you have to dissect everything she says, because what she says comes true, but you have to pay very close attention to what comes true. Because remember, she did marry the king, not the king she thought, but another king. Technically still king, remember? So, who's the little brother? Could it be Jaime? That'd almost be poetic. But also, you have to remember that it could be Jaime. Remember, she didn't say you're Valonqar, but she actually isn't implying that it's some random person. So it could be her little brother, Jaime. But, let's also remember that Jaime had his hand cut off in Season 3. So, it could still be her brother. Because, as of right now, if you saw the trailer, Jaime gets fitted with a new hand. And who said that these predictions had to be 100% accurate? Because they kind of are, and they're kind of not. So, sit on that for a little bit. So thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And, as always, if you comment, I love a good discussion on Game of Thrones, especially things like this. Because George R.R. Martin is a master of making mystery, even in his own fucking novels, which aren't mystery themselves. So, thanks for watching, and have a good one.